Salvete mihi nomen est Stella et hoc est Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast, episode 197 for September MMXX. Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by the Batman Universe and Comics with Normies, which everyone could probably use. I have so many normie friends. Batgirl the Oracle is also brought to you by MileHighComics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comics Express, offering a discounted price for comics ready to hit the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out milehighcomics.com. Well, as you can see, I have friend of the podcast, friend of mine, Eisner Award-winning author and author of the recently released Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, which you can see here, Militarism and Feminism in Comics and Film. It is Professor Carolyn Coco. Welcome back.
Hello, my second video podcast with you.
How does it feel?
Just as great as the first time, except of course I'm missing Donovan.
That guy. Yeah, I told him actually, I guess it was the beginning of this week. I said, just so you know, I'm going to betray you on Sunday. And he said, what? And I said, I'm just forewarning you because we're going to do some Batgirl issues without him. So Cassandra came Batgirl. He doesn't know why or how I'm betraying him. He just knows. So I'm sure once we start talking about it, he'll feel the knife go in. But it's great to have you on there. And that book literally just came out this week, did it not?
Just came out this week, yes. Yeah, so don't buy the hardcover. Yeah, I'm really good at selling. No, the hardcover is really for libraries. Buy the ebook because it's under $20 and it has color illustrations in it. I would hold up a hardcover, except I don't even have it yet.
Oh, wow. Man, see how far you rank. Yeah, we've had actually this discussion twice now because I keep checking back on eBay and it's Amazon, and it's $60. And I'm like, don't buy that. And then I say, but I like to have a hardcover so you can sign it when I see you next. And, for me to make notes. And then you say, oh, you can make notes digitally. So
that is true.
Yeah.
I don't have the ebook yet either. I mean, it really just came out like two days ago.
Yeah. Wasn't it the 28th officially?
The 27th is what it says on the website, but I think it really was the 28th.
Okay. So that means, though, that you'll probably be coming on the podcast soon once I read it to have a serious discussion about that, actually.
So soon? I'm here now.
I'm not ready for that. Well, on a serious note, I got called in by HR, which is basically Kimberly Rockmore working remotely, because I had mentioned in previous episodes that I'm intolerant of people who are intolerant of other cultures and the Dutch. And she said, you can't say that. And so I've invited you on because you are of Dutch origin, aren't you? Oh boy. But I do have some jokes for you. Are you ready for this? Now, these are jokes.
Are they as funny as your "Are you Dutch" joke?
Well, that was, I guess it fell flat, but that's okay. I knew you weren't Dutch. I just thought it'd be funny to say. So these are jokes that are not safe for work that women can say to men, but probably shouldn't say to men. Are you ready? I like my men like I like my commuter car. Silent. Okay. A guy walks into a bar. It's a low one, so he gets a raise within his first 6 months on the job. And finally, did you hear the one about the woman who reported sexual harassment? Of course you didn't. She was forced to sign an NDA.
Okay, that one's funny.
Okay. Finally. I've got a website for this of basically jokes you can't tell your male comrades because they get upset. And then here we come to it.
Comrades, they'll be okay with it, I guess.
Probably. So now I want to ask you seriously, because this was brought up 2 episodes ago. I think I mentioned your name and I said that I've kind of thrown you into the Stella personality pool, the deep end, because we had started off professionally, and then I just threw you in and started making jokes and things like that. And so I told the listeners that I would ask you if you're doing okay, if this was jarring to you. Have you been okay swimming in this deep end of my personality? I kind of threw you in there.
You mean that I have to be on guard when I listen to BTO because all of a sudden my name might pop up?
Basically, yes. And I treat you now like I treat anyone else. I think we've kind of dropped the professionalism, unless we're talking about your work.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is, am I okay with knowing that you might make fun of me at any moment publicly? And yeah,
Yes.
I'm cool with that. That's fine.
That's good. That's good. Donovan was thinking that you've become more comfortable with us as well, and I think I said I think so. She insults me now, which always shocks me, but now I like it.
Yes, I consider you both my friends. And I
Well,
hope we can see each other in person again.
oh yes, yeah. Whether or not it's accompanying a Broadway play or not, yeah, I hope so
Mm,
for sure.
yeah.
Well, my other two discussion points are actually, I've just said serious like three different times, but recently Gotham Knights, the video game, has released a trailer, and I sent that to you. And they also released about a 7-minute gameplay trailer so you could actually see, and they actually had the player control Batgirl. So with Gotham Knights, it's a world without Batman. The Bat Jerk is finally dead, and you you have Nightwing, Tim Drake Robin, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, and Jason Todd as Red Hood, and you can control these four. I'm thinking, I mean, I know it's open world. I'm thinking it's probably RPG like, just that you control your one person throughout the entire story and you level them up and things like that. But I just wondered if we could talk about what you've seen from the trailer, and even if you watch the gameplay, your thoughts on Barbara Gordon's presentation. And then I do have a description of her that has come from the Gotham Knights creators, which is interesting just because I think there's one point that will both kind of side eye or give it a side eye to. So this is what they describe her as. Few people can match Barbara Gordon in terms of raw willpower and determination. Barbara has always been a person of action. In her mind, backing down is never an option. Having one of Gotham City's most well-known police commissioner as a father had a massive impact on her. Jim Gordon gave his life for Gotham, and now she wants to make sure it wasn't in vain. So Jim is also dead in this reality. After a face-off that puts Barbara in a wheelchair, she became Oracle, a powerful information and communications expert. Here we go, though. But her father's death spurred her to train and recover from her wounds so that she could return to active duty as Batgirl. Barbara is highly trained in a variety of fighting styles such as kickboxing, capoeira, which I should have looked up what that is, in jiu-jitsu. Her signature weapon is the tonfa. Barbara is, that's actually different there. Barbara also displays great skill when it comes to hacking or coding in computers and technological systems to dig for information, and that's the end of it. So thoughts on that description, and then what you had seen from that gameplay trailer that I showed you as well.
All right. Well, with the description, I mean, when I was writing my last book that had a chapter about Barbara Gordon, I read a lot of disability theory, and particularly feminist disability theory and disability studies. And what a lot of people who professionally write about that topic talk about is that a major problem with representations of disability is this idea of there always has to be a cure narrative, and that if you are a person living with a disability, you just need to be fixed. So that, so one, then two, and then three, this also does the third thing, which is if you just have the willpower, you can just overcome that disability. That's not real. Being mad that your father died doesn't give you the physical ability to just not be paralyzed anymore. That just doesn't make sense. So all three of those things together seem to be present in that description, and that's what's unfortunate. When Barbara Gordon as Batgirl was sort of rebooted in 2011, most people who were fans who wrote to Gail Simone and wrote to DC said that they were disappointed that, one of the only nuanced characters with a disability had been taken away, And what did you really need Barbara Gordon to be Batgirl for? There were other Batgirls. There was, however, Gail Simone said, a um, small number of letters that said that there were people with disabilities who said they wanted Barbara to be able to walk again because it was like a wish fulfillment thing, you know, like they couldn't be cured in real life. I shouldn't even use the word cure. They couldn't regain, not regain either. They couldn't have that kind of mobility in real life. And so it was gratifying to, you know, root for their character to have that mobility in a fictional world. So yeah, I think it seems to me like it's very similar to the way that they're treating disability in the current Batgirl run, which is like you turn it on and you turn it off as it serves the plot. And that's not how it works. It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
So,
Which was, I suppose, the positive thing from the Oracle Code graphic novel, because it did get to that point of there's nothing that I need to fix of myself, or I don't need to be fixed. So that was
yeah,
one of those positive things. So I get what you're saying there.
yeah. Is that what you were annoyed about also in that description?
Yeah, absolutely. Just that you can train through basically being paraplegic, and then you'll be better. And I think it was Donovan told me that this is an alternate timeline to Arkham Knights. So in Arkham Knights, that was when they had revisited the Killing Joke. She was there, and she was actually Oracle in that, and she was in a relationship with Tim. As far as I didn't play it for the Killing Joke reason. I was like, I'm not playing that. So that if that's the reason why she was in the wheelchair, and now they've gone this different route to bring her back. I mean, I love seeing her as Batgirl, and the fact that, I could play a game with Barbara Gordon as
Yes.
Batgirl.
Yeah.
But to have that as her backstory, I think is unfortunate, because why not have her start as Batgirl, and then maybe, in a future game, if you had this timeline, have her as Oracle, and maybe have another Batgirl and she's
Yeah.
the mentor to it. So it's just, it's the same thing that we've complained about with the comics. Absolutely. Just, I think people don't really understand how best to deal with this.
But you know what they could do is they could hire someone that does know how to do it. That would be an option.
That would be the hope. But as we found out from Margaret Scott, storylines get forcibly changed, and the writer has basically no voice, it seems.
Yeah, I think it's kind of limited agency,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that you can just choose to play Barbara Gordon is great. Like it sounds like from what you said that it's not one of those things where you have to get rewarded to be able to play the female character. Like you can just play it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. So you can choose your character and play the entire time. I don't know if you can switch off if you want to, but yeah, that's great. And or that you're forced to play her for a particular mission or something like that. Because I would willingly choose. And just looking at her, it looks like she's completely capable. I'm not sure about the tonfa as her weapon.
I
If
don't know what a
anything,
tonfa is. What is a tonfa?
from what, so I'd have to look it up. I'd have to do the Googlenating, as my friend Sam said, but I'm pretty sure, because I saw the image, it's the stick, but you're holding like in a perpendicular handle. So kind of like what a policeman would use, or a
Yeah.
security.
Yep. That is what it is.
Yeah, a nightstick.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
not a no.
yeah,
That's not her thing. I mean, when she was Oracle, she used the Screama sticks, the
right.
two sticks.
Yeah.
And, like what we are going to talk about shortly,
Yep.
in classic Birds of Prey, when she uses them, she almost always wins.
Yeah, for sure. I don't, maybe they wanted something distinct from Nightwing, because you saw him use his. But as Batgirl, though, she didn't really have weapons that she would always, Tim would have his bow staff, and Nightwing's got his string. So she was more hands-on, I would say. And then depending on the situation, she would have gadgetry. But maybe they just really wanted you to have that so you can upgrade your weapons, and, then the skill tree. I don't know.
I wonder if it's because, the newer iterations of Barbara Gordon supposedly wanted to be a cop and her father wouldn't let her.
Yeah.
Not classic Barbara, but new Barbara.
Yeah.
Classic Barbara with a PhD and a brown belt in judo, who was a professional librarian and a congresswoman. But she's not that anymore. So anyway, maybe this weapon, because it's kind of associated with cops.
Yeah, could be right.
But no,
Uh,
I've never seen her with that before.
yeah. And then what do you think about her outfit
I
too?
like the purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I would have
Yeah.
preferred the leather jacket purple, but I like the purple.
Yeah. It seems like an amalgamation of the burn side with what we're currently doing, especially with, and you made this comment when I texted with you of the, I guess you call them like the ears or whatever. Because
I
at
don't get the
first,
ears. What is the point of the
I
ears?
don't know. I don't know. But it seems like at first you do have the current cowl that we're seeing in this, in the run right now. And then at the end of the trailer, you started to see her actually have a full cowl. So I don't know if that's upgrading or as the story progresses, because even in the trailer it was like you become it was weird, a weird progression from like a something to a vigilante to a hero, or is vigilante hero, and I thought, what are they? Well,
Yeah,
and then
that's
an actual knight, and then with the knight you had that full thing, so it seems like there's progression. But yeah, so I will probably wait. I don't think I'll pre-order it because I would like to have more information about how well the character is dealt, and I don't want to get heartsick over a game that I'm playing, really. So I think I'll wait. But it's exciting to see her in there.
yeah, it's great.
And then the last thing I want to talk to you about is I said Death of the Author. And you said, is this in regards to the Bart's essay? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Barth.
Barth, okay. The Barth essay. And I said, no, not really. It kind of is, but not really. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that essay is stating basically that biographical information or context should have no bearing on what the author has written.
It's, yeah, I mean, some people uh, theorize that the author's intent, you should know what it was, and that's the interpretation of the story that you would have. And then there are people like that, like Barth, on the other side who are like, it doesn't matter at all. Reception is everything. How you interpret the story is the story. And
Okay.
then there are people who are kind of more in the middle.
Yeah. I'm sure that's the debate that rages on in English classes across the nation.
Yeah.
I'm going to change it slightly to Death of the Artist. And what I'm thinking about J.K. Rowling, and I'm thinking even about when Harold and I had our conversation of The Last of Us and how there was controversy in the Naughty Dog office. What do you do when the artist, you find out something about the artist that perhaps makes them reprehensible or just something that you don't agree with? Do you, I don't know, do you boycott whatever has happened, whatever product or art that they have made? Do you just use your voice to go against it, but can you still engage with that? And I think the harder thing is J.K. Rowling, because Harry Potter has been a beloved, I don't know, item, art, piece of art for years for everyone. And then for her to come out and be what is known as a TERF, which I think is a trans elite, right? No?
Exclusionary.
Thank you. Trans exclusionary radical feminist. Is that it? Okay. And just to have all these negative things, I mean, what do you do with that? Because it's hard. You're a drop in the bucket if you're like, I'm not gonna do anything, and you've probably already purchased your DVDs and your books. So how do we separate ourselves from JK and like we just appreciate this art form, but we're against her? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I think all those examples you gave of what a person could do are pretty much what you can do. I do, there is something, there's definitely some truth in what you just said about every one person is a drop in a bucket, but obviously when you put all the drops together, you can have a tsunami. So, no, I mean, that's the theory behind
No,
why nonviolent social movements work. They work because of numbers. They work because of 100% compliance. The number of people in power is really quite tiny compared to the number of
yeah,
everybody else. So that's true of an author as well. There's one author and there's a zillion potential readers. So you can't have a boycott of stuff you've already bought.
yeah,
You can, I think that you can contextualize, you can share the stuff you already bought with people that you would like to see the stories. And you can just kind of tell people that the stories are what they are. And the author, even though she somehow has written a whole beloved book series that has a lot to do with empathy and tolerance, has difficulty practicing that in her regular life, just like we still teach about Thomas Jefferson, plagiarizing the word, like you talked about this with your friend Sam,
Yeah.
plagiarizing the words of John Locke for the Declaration of Independence about equality, but practicing, the absolute opposite of equality in his regular life. It doesn't mean we throw away the idea of equality as one of our founding principles. So I think you can separate the two things, yes, but where your money goes, you can't quite separate. So I think that is where you can share what you already have. You can tell people to use libraries, and you can use them yourself, because the libraries only purchase one copy instead of you and all your friends purchasing multiple copies of that thing. If it can mean that you don't buy anything further by the author, and that if a lot of people do that, they will get a message. But someone who's so globally recognized and revered and wealthy as her, I'm not sure how much impact this is really going to have, honestly.
Yeah. Do you think we should feel bad? Especially, so I think a lot about, and I don't know why I can never remember his name, Kevin Spacey. I think a lot about him. I've already watched House of Cards. That was before all this stuff happened. Well, the last season I watched, after which they took him out. So I suppose that was it. But I just wonder, like, if I wanted to, watch a movie that is lauded, like Seven or something, should I feel bad that, I'm about to rent this film and I know what Kevin Spacey has done? Or so that's the tricky thing that I'm trying to work through personally, of how much should this affect my daily life and what I choose to consume.
Yeah, I think that you can make there are ways in which we should be a little bit uncomfortable every day. It's good to challenge the things that you think, and it's good to take in new information. However, I think it's important to be politically comfortable in your everyday life. In other words, if you don't live according to what your political stances are, you're going to cause kind of an uncomfortable dissonance in yourself, right? You should practice what you preach. So if you feel like the example that you just gave, who I guess has been accused of serial sexual predation on young men, if you feel that that is wrong, then I think you should probably make a point to not put any more money in that man's pocket. So I guess that's the problem, is by doing that, you're also not putting money in other people's pockets who created that product with him.
Yeah.
So I think that, short of trying to pressure a company to remove whatever was in his contract about a percentage of receipts or something, you have to make that choice yourself. Is it okay to give him a tiny reward if I'm rewarding all the other people involved for their good product? Or can I not sit with myself if I know he's getting any reward from me?
Yeah. Man, it's interesting. I feel like I've matured so much in these, especially this podcast has helped me, reading comics, which sounds odd that comics has helped me grow, but just seeing different types of people that I don't see in my everyday life has led me to consider new things. And so now if I watch things from the past and I'm like, oh no, Harvey Weinstein's, produced this.
Right.
I recently watched Charlie's Angels from early 2000s, and I thought, yikes, this is real male gaze stuff right here. And I was just watching it for background stuff because I think I was doing prep for the previous episode of the podcast. And so it's just like, wow, my eyes are really open, and you're partially to blame for that, frankly. Gosh, Bechtel test and floating heads and
Can I show you my t-shirt now that you just said that?
Sure.
Okay, it says,
Hey girl.
hey girl, you know what passes the Bechdel test? This shirt. So it's two women having a very short conversation, showing how easy it is to pass the Bechdel test.
Oh, that's classic.
Yeah, I got this from Geeks Out,
Okay.
LGBTQ plus organization that usually has a booth at Comic-Cons. I got
Mm.
this at New York Comic-Con.
Do they also have a website?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You said Geeks Out?
Geeks Out.
Okay. And I cut you off, but you said it's an LGBTQ plus. Okay.
Mhm.
Cool, cool. Well, that's it. That is all I had for our introduction. And I felt like we got some serious as well as some jokes.
Only with you is an introduction already half an hour.
How dare you, ma'am? How dare you?
Am I wrong?
We didn't start on time, so I can't say. Okay, we are now moving on to Find Your Joy segment. Shag's mac and cheese of comfort and joy. So what, Carolyn, has been giving you joy in these times?
I think the answer is pretty much the same stuff I said the last time we spoke, which is, there's a whole lot out there that as a human being and as a political scientist causes me rage, Hulk level rage.
Sure.
I am always angry. So I'm exercising more, doing more yoga and meditation. Those are definitely helpful things. We are part of a CSA for the summer and fall. So every week I can go to the farm, which is only like a mile from my house, and pick up my vegetables. And there's a part where you can pick your own stuff. I know it's super white of me to say that it's fun to pick vegetables for 5 minutes, because at the job, it is a really, really, really hard job. But it is really nice to sort of go and pick some tomatoes and clip some herbs and talk to other like-minded people that are trying to support local farms and kinds of things. And then meanwhile, we in my household are trying to figure out how we're going to negotiate the fall and winter, assuming that all of us, including my daughter who is going into high school, how we're all going to negotiate being in the house together for several more months at least, because she's going to do remote learning.
Okay.
So we're figuring that out. But in the meantime, we're trying to carve out time for things like learning how to play Hearts, a card game I never played before, trying to watch more movies together, while also respecting when we try to go in different corners of the house because we need a little time apart.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did your daughter have an option to go back in person or do remote?
Yes and no. The option is for a hybrid model to go back 2 days a week. But about a week and a half ago, they sort of announced they're really not ready for anybody to go back on the first day of school. So everybody has to start remote. And this is mostly, they say, a supply chain issue. Supplies having to do with sanitation and stuff just have not arrived. So they can't tell anyone what a start date is for starting hybrid. And they are having some difficulty being able to answer questions concretely about cleaning and ventilation, how you change classes in a high school without kids poking at each other, how they're only going to allow one kid in the bathroom at a time.
Oh my.
In high school between classes.
Yeah.
So it's just the logistics. Look, they're doing their best, I'm sure, but their best isn't good enough for me to send my kid back to school. And I'm privileged enough to be able to have her at home. Because I will be home, and she is very good about being disciplined with her time. And even if she weren't, we can be there with her. I mean, there's so many people who don't have that ability. So that we're really lucky that we can deal with it, but we shouldn't have to live this way. There's no reason that the last several months needed to be like this.
Yeah. Don't get your rage. I see you turning green
I know,
a bit.
it's like,
yeah, the school that I used to work at, it went full in with physical stuff. And
5 days?
I'm sorry?
5 days.
5 days. Yes, ma'am. And as far as I know, because I'm still in contact with a couple students, it has been working out. The worst part has been, or the most difficult has been, social distancing in the hall. And so that's when the kids are getting yelled at. And so I imagine it takes a long time to get to classes, which I think they actually increased every break between classes to 10 to account for this. but lunch is not together. There are particular rooms for lunch and masks are all on. And one of my students emailed me and said, there's no more lunch detention, which makes me very happy. And it's because she always got, I think it was tardy or unprepared. It was probably unprepared and then also dress coding. And so I wrote back to her and I said, they probably stopped because of you. But yeah, I'm happy that I haven't had to deal with that, frankly. And the one bathroom, I don't know how they could deal with that. In my experience with the bathroom, are you okay with slight bathroom jokes? Are you going to get offended? Okay. So oftentimes we would get an email, a big email. So it'll go to the whole high school or something like that, that such and such went to the bathroom a while ago and hasn't come back. And so the thought is that they're up to no good. But my thinking is they're probably number two, and you're pressuring them, those poor kids. So what happens if someone, has to do the number two and then everyone else is waiting?
Or anything. I mean, they could just like need a minute because
Yeah.
they're anxious about something.
Yeah.
There could be period related stuff happening. There are all
That's,
kinds of reasons, none of which are any of our business. So imagine you're trying to change classes and you
Yep.
know that 8 people are outside the door.
Yeah. Man, I didn't even think about the emotional toll. And also there were countless times that girls went crying into the bathroom and then either a faculty member was asked, hey, could someone go check on such and such, or a friend would come, and gosh, do we get rid of that, that comforting factor of someone who's having a breakdown? Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, it's rough.
I think at my daughter's school, they're eating lunch at the desk where they are in the period that
Okay.
should have been before lunch.
Yeah.
So, and they're going to be all spread out, and I don't know. It sounds like not like you kind of want your kid to go back to school partly for the social aspect,
Sure.
but there isn't really one. It
Yeah.
sounds pretty militarized, or it would have to be.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they would be not just my daughter's school, but all schools. Some of them have been saying, gee, how are we going to enforce a mask requirement? But a lot of schools don't seem to have a problem enforcing, as you say, dress codes on girls. So if they can manage to police those things, I'm sure they can manage to tell people to put masks on.
Absolutely. Yeah. My thinking was, and like I said, I think my school is doing well, but that should just be an instant detention because you are like causing harm to somebody. So if you would suspend someone if they had a knife, then, if you don't not wearing your mask properly, then.
Yeah, they're both health hazards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so you're doing some CSA, you're farming for 5 minutes at a time and getting out there. And yeah, I'm still getting out there now. And I have started rewatching The OC because I found it on HBO Max. And I started watching that in high school because a boy that I had a crush on really liked it. And so I started in like season 2. I think I only watched season 2 and season 3. So it's been fun to revisit. And also Seth Cohen is a nerd. And so you see him reading comics. And so it's fun to see the comics that he's reading. I saw an Azrael, Agent of the Bat.
Nice.
But with this one, I'm also really focused on the mom, and Kelly Rowan, I think, is a great actress and just subtle. And so when she had a mass explosion of anger, I was like, whoa, I've not seen it from her before. So just looking at the parents more, perhaps because of my older years, more so than the kids. And Marissa, I think, is really annoying, which I may have known back when I first watched it, but now I really do. But that's been fun to revisit. So there's my joy.
That's funny what you say about the age thing, though, because I should have mentioned that I just rewatched Star Trek Voyager.
Oh.
Last summer, I rewatched The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. So this summer is Voyager and Enterprise.
Okay.
But it was the same kind of thing where I think I focused more on Seven, 20 years ago, and now I'm focusing more on the captain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think I do think it's an age thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Either age or just as we grow and maybe our perspectives, I think, change, and then maybe how we relate to other people also change.
Yeah.
So, because I think I look for strong female characters more often now than I would have when I was younger. So I'm always looking for some sort of show that, like, yeah, I can get on board with this particular character, whereas before it could have been anyone, really.
Well, that might be true. It also might be that you looked around and didn't see any strong female characters, so you didn't really have a choice. Because there are more now. There are definitely more, just not enough more. I mean, when you go from like 15% to 20%, that's still not good enough.
It sure isn't. Yeah, I was just listening to an interview on That's Not My Job, I think it's called, on NPR, with Olivia Wilde, who had directed Booksmart. And at the very end, she was saying how the percentage of women directing is like fledgling, and so we just really need to get on board,
Yeah,
and
it's
everyone needs.
single digits.
Yeah,
Single.
absolutely. And so I, which I thought was interesting. And this was probably last year, I guess, whenever Booksmart came out. And the host jokingly said, well, now that you've done this, are you going to do a superhero movie next? And she's like, yeah, that's the dream, isn't it? But it's funny because she is actually in rumors, I think, for doing a superhero. I think it's Spider-Woman. That's like the rumor right now.
Hmm.
So
I would love to see a Spider-Woman
yeah, that'd
movie.
be
That would
great.
be great. And just in terms of female directors in superhero movies, I want to give 2 thumbs up to The Old Guard on Netflix. Excellent.
Yes. Oh, yes. So
Yeah,
good.
give her all the things. Give her all the things.
No, that yes, that was so good. And I really like Charlize Theron. I like her I remember seeing her in Monster, and I
Yeah,
thought, "Oh my gosh, this is so good." But as an action star, I think she's awesome, and I feel like my haircut is kind of great for her too. But yeah, no, I really like the Old Guard. So much so in fact that I got the first trade, I guess it was on Comixology, have yet to finish it. But I'm
I
hoping that they do another film because it looked like the end of it seemed like, yeah. So,
yeah. Yeah, I read the comic before I watched it.
okay.
I actually liked the movie better than the comic.
Okay. Good to know.
So you'll have to tell me what you think.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's good that I watched the movie first and then I'll read,
Probably.
yeah, the comic. Okay. Well, now we're going to get into this thing. And what I've done is actually this episode encapsulates 2 months of Barbara Gordon appearances, maybe two and like, I don't know, another one just because of what we do with Birds of Prey. But I just want to hear from you guys whether you thought that this was too much. Maybe I'll just do a month. I'm just trying to figure out because my Excel spreadsheet now, guys, is getting really crazy with where she's popping up and how often. And I just need to find some way to make it manageable. So maybe I do a month at a time for each episode. I don't know. So you can tell me when you write in, hopefully you write in, hey, that was too much or this was fine. But I'm not going to be reviewing all these comics. A lot of them I'll just say what it was about and what Babs does. So that I think also makes it manageable. And you can please, Carolyn, also say that was too much. Okay, so this is, I guess it's sexual innuendo, but I'll call these the quickies, which basically means
I'm glad you're cracking yourself up.
okay, which basically means okay, I'm back. Look, no one can take a drink. It was after. It was after 5 minutes. Which basically I can't look at you. This is why. Which basically means I'll give the title and creator credits, and then I went to Comixology and got the publisher recap, and then I'll tell you how Barbara Gordon appears. Oh, look! Well, no, that cracks me up more.
No.
Okay.
I'm doing it on purpose
No,
because,
I know, I
and
know.
if people want to just look at you, you know.
Me laughing? Sure.
No, because I think you're going to be talking now for like 2 hours summarizing
Oh,
before it
how
comes back to me.
offensive. See what I'm talking about, people? She offends me. She insults me, and that's how I know we're friends.
She
Okay.
provokes me to say these things.
Oh, okay. So first up, Nightwing 55, Love and Death. The cover date was May 2001. So I think May and June are my 2 months that I covered this episode. Writer Chuck Dixon, penciler Greg Land, inker Drew Geraci, and colorist Patricia Mulvihill. And the Comixology synopsis was an emergency team fights to save Clancy's life. Clancy was the landlord, or is the landlord of Dick, while Dick can only watch helplessly by her side. Meanwhile, Blockbuster tests his newest weapon, Shriek, or it could be Shrike, on his own elite team of mercenaries in preparation for unleashing it, or him, against Nightwing. I guess he said it, or they said it because of weapon. And Barbara's appearance here was Dick surprises Barbara at home, and she says that she needs to up her security. And then there's some smooching, so it's a good one in terms of shipping. The next one is Nightwing 56, Stalked. June 2001, writer Chuck Dixon, penciler Greg Land, inker Drew Geraci, and colors Patricia Mulvihill. And the synopsis is Tad and Dudley have had enough and are planning to break out of prison at any cost. Meanwhile, Blockbuster prepares to unleash his latest weapon, the assassin known as Shrike. I feel like it might be Shriek, but I think maybe I'm thinking of Batman Beyond. I think there was a Shriek on there.
Yeah.
On an unsuspecting Nightwing. Okay, I'm going to screen share here because you know why. Maybe you don't know why.
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Show it.
Oh, look at this. I've been waiting for this story. I've seen this countless times. I may actually own this random issue because I had a list of shipper issues where I knew Dick and Babs appeared. So I might have this. But now that I know in context, look at that. Oh, I'm so excited for that.
I think he's a little dehydrated, though.
Because the water's not going into his skin?
No, because like you see every little crevice,
yeah.
kind of a sign of dehydration. But anyway.
That's true. He pulled a Hugh Jackman, I suppose.
Yes, exactly.
There you go. Oh boy, am I so. Now I have a question though. The fact that she walks in, like, would you,
No,
if you had a really good friend and you went to go visit your friend and you heard she was in the shower, would you go and visit her in the shower or would you wait for her to come out?
I think I could wait a few minutes.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know what Dinah was thinking.
Unless she wanted to see Babs in the shower.
Whoa. Now you're giving fuel to all the people that feel like when she's holding her that there's some homoerotic behavior going on there. I actually like this issue, though, with how Babs and Dinah interact. And look at how sheepish he looks. This was a great issue. I really liked it. But how Dinah is saying, nothing Babs, nothing happened. Okay, you don't have to convince me. I mean it, Dinah. And she walks, whatever you say, Babs, which I do to Ellie Sawyer all the time. She tells me all this stuff. I'm like, okay. She says, you don't believe me when you say that. And then Babs down there's frustrated and then laughing. But
yeah, that's a good stage. Good body language for both of them.
And this, unfortunately, we're doing this before or looking at it before what we do because now they have this tight relationship, whereas we're about to see when that first began. But that was a good issue. I enjoyed it. I will stop the share now. And any other notes on that? I don't think. Oh, a big thing, though, is Babs admits that she's fallen all the way, which I thought was pretty big. She admits to them having a lot of history together, but she's fallen all the way. And then Babs also tells Dinah to look, but don't touch. And Dinah sure did look. And then we have The Titans 28, the all-nighter, June 2001. Writer Jay Faber. Paul Pelletier is the artist. Inker Bud LaRosa and colors Gregory Wright. A new direction for the Titans begins as Titans Tower is visited by a group of mysterious children who want nothing less of the supergroup than to move in. Who are these kids? Where do they come from? And how's their presence going to change the future of the Titans? Nightwing, at this point, he asks Oracle to run prints and find info on these mysterious kids. She says he could come over and wait for the results, so there could have been shipping. But he stays with the Titans. And Donna overhears the conversation and teases Dick. But in the end, she's happy that he's happy. And I know that those two have a really close relationship throughout history. So it's great that now she knows that he likes somebody. And then we have Robin. And I had to go back in context because it's Robin 89, A Serpent in Paradise, but at least Steph is there. And I thought, why is Steph in this? So just with Robin 86, I say that it's Batgirl on steroids because he tells Steph Tim's secret, which is even noted as a betrayal. And Alfred, remember Alfred quit during Officer Down. He is with Tim at Brentwood, and I was shocked to see Tim wearing glasses, and I asked Donovan, and apparently it's just for this era. And then 87 is actually the first meeting of Cassandra Cain, Batgirl, and Spoiler. Batman says Spoiler can't be to the level of Batgirl, but she could be the same or better than Tim, which is probably high praise coming from Batman. And then Alfred is protective of Tim and not very welcoming to Steph. So just some things that I noted in that. But Robin 89, A Serpent in Paradise, June 2001, cover date, writer Chuck Dixon and Scott Beatty, a dream team, penciler Pete Woods, inker Andrew Pepoy, and colorist Noel Giddings. Tim's just learned the truth about Danny Temple, and now it's going to get him killed, unless that annoying gaggle of robot assassins is after something besides Robin. And Tim contacts Oracle in this issue. She quickly finds out that the robots made their way to the Himalayas. Tim decides to travel there strictly on reconnaissance mission, though Oracle actually offers some metahuman assistance if he needs. And then later, Oracle calls him Tim by name, which surprises him, and he thinks Bruce also told her, so just heap on the betrayals. But Alfred says he gives Bruce too much credit, and it was only a matter of time, which is true, that Oracle could figure that out on her own. She probably knew it for a long time, but this is what I imagine. She's known for a very long time, but she was sensitive to his feelings that he didn't want it known, or, wouldn't want that out there. So she probably didn't say anything to him. That's what I perceive about Oracle.
For sure.
Okay, so those are the recaps, and I guess that's it. Those are the quickies. And so now we're going to get into our first little batch of stories that we're doing a full review. And it's going to be Birds of Prey 28 through 30, and Carolyn can now take the reins.
Okay, so these summaries will be a little bit longer than the ones you just gave. So yes. I took it from the DC wiki, but I changed a couple things here and there. All right, so 28 to 30. Number 28, April 2001, History Lesson Part 1, Time to Kill. Written by Chuck Dixon, pencil and inks by Jackson Geiss, colors Shannon Blanchard, letters Albert de Guzman, covers by Geiss and David Smith. Several months ago, scientists from Star Labs who were examining a crashed satellite that created a temporal anomaly were killed by Cheshire, who suddenly burst through that anomaly. Then a couple weeks ago, a rune stone was discovered showing Vikings present in pre-colonization North America, which was a theory long supported by Professor Orenstein. Just remember that name for a second. Now, Black Canary finally meets Oracle in person at the clock tower, and the two women get to know each other better face to face. There is some cute hugging, and Dinah learns she's worked with Oracle before, back when she was Batgirl. They talk about dudes, Jason Bard, Nightwing, Ollie, Dr. Midnight. Then they go outside and they foil a hapless mugger who chooses definitely the wrong pair of women to pick on. He ends up without his gun and without his pants after Dinah and Babs are finished with him. Meanwhile, back at Star Labs, some confused Vikings come through the time anomaly, and they're worried that Cheshire and, not the Vikings, the people at Star Labs are worried that Cheshire and the other two Ravens' presence back in the past will have a negative impact on the present. They suggest sending in a paramilitary team, but Professor Orenstein has a better idea, showing them that the discovered runestone clearly depicts Black Canary. They find her just as she and Babs get back to her apartment. So then we go to number 29, May 2001. History Lesson Part 2, Valhalla, baby. This is the same creative team as number 28. So Canary goes into the past with a squad of soldiers to try and retrieve the Ravens, Cheshire, Pistolera, and Vicious. They come under attack from stereotyped and othered Huronii Indians, and all the soldiers get killed. Canary is able to escape, but then she comes under attack from some Vikings, but they don't want to kill her. Their leader, John Haraldsson, even seems quite friendly. He takes her back to their camp where she encounters the Ravens, who would kill her if it weren't for the fact that she might be able to get them back to the present. Then there's some dead people, and there's Vicious in a thong right in the middle of the page, and Haraldsson says that the Huronii are like animals, as opposed to Vikings, I guess. Both Canary and Cheshire seem to have fallen for Haraldsson rather quickly. In the present, Oracle, using the name Cassandra, who doesn't love that, and with inexplicably blue rather than green eyes and more pinkish red hair, works with Professor Orenstein to understand the mechanics of the time travel phenomenon attached to the crashed satellite and to coordinate the operation. Dinah has to come close to the satellite to get a signal from Oracle. Otherwise, she and her companions could end up in another time. as Canary, the Vikings, and the Ravens wait for the signal. The camp comes under attack from the stereotyped and othered Huroney Indians. On to number 30, June 2001, History Lesson Part 3, time and time and time again, same creative team again. So they're under attack from the Huroney, and Cheshire overhears Canary discussing her plans with John Haroldson to leave Cheshire in the past to prevent her from killing the Star Lab scientists when she arrives in the present. Haroldson and Canary kiss. Cheshire, of course, shoots at Canary. Just as Oracle's signal is beginning to come through stronger, and also her signal is cutting through 1943 World War II somehow. Anyway, Haroldson intercepts the bullet. You know, he jumps in front of it for Canary, but Cheshire escapes. And then he and Canary kiss and they cry, and she promises to avenge him, and she returns to the present, where she discovers that the events resulting from Cheshire's arrival haven't changed and that the other two Ravens haven't yet returned. Some weeks later, Professor Orenstein invites Dinah to see a newly discovered stone artifact, which indicates that Haroldson survived the bullet, but apparently, quote, his heart mourned for a love lost to time, which of course is Dinah.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Justice League, the animated series.
Yeah.
That, now I can't remember what that, the first three-part episode that they had where they were kind of in World War II, and
I
Steve
love
Trevor
that.
and
Yeah, Steve Trevor, that's so, oh man, when she visits, I'm like spoiling the whole thing. When she visits him at the end
yeah,
in the home, and he just says angel, it's like,
yeah, that's kind of what it reminded me of. Okie dokie. Well, first of all, I do have to say, was it just me, or did the whole past Viking storyline get in the way of Babs and Dinah and
yeah,
their,
I mean,
meeting up?
yeah, of course. I mean, so it's all Ravens and Indians and Vikings and time travel, but I don't care. Just show me Babs and Dinah.
Yeah,
Babs and Dinah hanging out and
yeah.
taking out a mugger who underestimates them. It is adorable. It is glorious. That could just be the comic every month.
Yeah, I feel like, and I was thinking about that this morning, that why not have a one shot where it's just them hanging out and just inevitably they get into trouble, they find themselves in trouble, or people are trying to attack them and they're dumb, not the team, but these attackers are dumb, and like, oh man, it's like hijinks, basically an issue of hijinks with those two. And I thought, yeah, why wouldn't that sell? That would have been a great transition issue almost to get there.
Yeah, and
Well,
here, the way that they do it is they're trying to tell the mugger, really, you should just walk away. And then it's kind of like Babs just sort of raises her eyebrows and looks resigned, like, ugh, I don't feel like doing this, but you asked for it, buddy. And then they just totally take the dude down. You don't underestimate Canary and Oracle.
For sure. And I like how in that moment she calls her Batgirl. I think she says, nice moves, Batgirl.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was, it was so off the cuff, but I don't know. It's like an intimacy there, because I feel like if anyone else had said it, her hackles would have gone up, because sometimes Barbara doesn't like to think about that part of her, but it just comes off really well. And you can tell that Dinah says it in a respectful way. And now that they had this intimacy and this actual burgeoning friendship, I liked that little.
Yeah, I totally took it as you're still the same person you were when you were Batgirl, and you still have the same skills as Batgirl.
Yep.
You just have, you're just using mostly all these other skills also.
Yep. Well, let's talk about the covers first, and then we can delve more into the actual issue. Throughout all three of them, or on all three of them, on the border, you have Norse, I suppose, engraved as if in stone. And then you also have our little hunk on the corner right there for all three of them. But the first one, you've got Dinah. She looks like she's wearing some Viking-esque clothing. Which, is she really back in the past though? So that might be not a misnomer, but they led us astray for a bit. And then you've got I guess just show it like this.
Well, I don't think the Vikings did spandex, but I guess we're supposed to think that the fur is Viking-esque.
Yeah, and then you've got the shield as well. But she's not back in time yet.
No.
So that's the only thing.
Yeah.
I would say on that one. And then you have the Ravens on this one. And would you say there's a pile of racism in the background again, or are you okay with this?
You got TNA in the front and racism in the back.
You have
Welcome to,
what in the back?
I said you have TNA in the front and racism in the back. Welcome to
Okay.
2001.
Does this count as a floating head?
There's no Babs.
But, well, I mean, it's her mask.
Where?
The Oracle mask on the engraving?
Oh, okay.
Does that count as a floating head if it's just her mask, her Oracle mask, her...
That is not
avatar.
something I had to confront when I was
Okay.
quantifying these kinds of things. It's cool. I guess it's a way of getting her there, getting her head there, and
Yeah.
getting the fact that Oracle is involved without showing it. So yeah, I'm sure I didn't count this as a floating head, and I should have.
Well, I feel like you laid out your parameters rather well. I mean, it was her, actually. It was actually Barbara without a body. Whereas that's a representation of Barbara without a body.
I think now, I mean, it's really only the Vikings in the back, right? There's not, I don't think there are any Indians in the back. So
yeah,
it's not
the Vikings and then Dinah's.
Dinah, yeah. So it's not really a pile of racism in the back.
Okay.
But you've got that in the comic itself.
You sure do.
Well, it's just this like uh, um, when you have basically just a brownish unnamed mass of people,
Mm-hmm.
That's not so great. For more on how you see a lot of that in Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel comics from the 2010s, see my new book.
Whoa.
Captain Marvel. Yeah, there's a whole chapter that's kind of about that they're like how often people of color in both of those comics get sort of othered.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they're being protected and they're an unnamed mass of brown people, and sometimes when they're being fought against and they're an unnamed mass of brown people. So I don't think that's really gone away from comics.
And then you have this where you kind of create them like or portray them as if they're savages.
Yeah, and John Haraldson tells us straight out that they are too.
Yeah.
So it's not just the art, it's also said to us.
Yep. And then the final one,
the Vikings are civilized, I guess, but the Indians who
Yeah.
are protecting where they live from colonization are savages.
Here's the last one where you have Dinah and Cheshire fighting, and then there's our hunky hunk right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever seen that particular fighting style before. No, I think that number 29. I mean,
It is a strange pose.
What are they doing?
Dinah's using her knee to attack Cheshire's liver. I don't know, ma'am.
But she's also kind of on tiptoes, which is not really a position of strength.
Yeah.
If you're trying to take someone down with your knee. But yeah, so I think 29 and 30 have a little bit more of that. Dinah's pose on 28, I think, is more of a forward facing, the kind of pose that's more often given to male superheroes on covers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Strong and ready for action.
I would say that's probably my favorite, I think, of all three of them anyways.
Yeah, me too.
Even if it misleads us. Okay. Let's see here. Babs's hair. We have to talk about it because of Professor Allen as my chief hairstylist correspondent. So in 28, a different hairstyle. I feel like I've not seen her wear this type of hairstyle before, but she has actually pulled back just the bangs.
Yeah, I think it's cute.
Back. I think so as well. It seems like she's off duty, like an off-duty Babs, which makes sense. And then you've got business Babs for 29 and 30, where she's got the actual, it's down and the longer bob and everything. But color-wise, you made a mention that you would say the coloring is different. I mean, the eyes for sure, which is the same color, so that's not good on Shannon.
That's the part I did. Then I checked again, like, well, okay, the middle issue must be someone else, but it's not credited as being someone else.
Yeah.
But the hair color is different and the eye color is different.
Yeah, I would agree that it certainly is more red in 28, and then 29 has that magenta feel.
Yeah, it's like a pinkish.
There you go. Okay, let's talk about this first meeting. Let's talk about it a bit more. First of all, since you're wearing the shirt, would you say that it passes the Bechdel test? Because they do talk about romantic entanglements a lot. Can you put that aside and say that it passes?
Yeah, a lot of their conversation is talking about guys. And
It
it's
sure
kind
is.
of, I mean, given that you're now at number 30 of the series and you
Mm-hmm.
know they talk about plenty of other stuff, it's not that much of a problem. You kind of feel more like, oh, since they're face to face, they're going to have a little more personal girl talk. But they do talk about other stuff. Like
Yeah.
she says, when Babs says, this isn't the first time, how does she put it? You know, we worked together before when I was,
Yeah.
yeah. So it isn't all that they're talking about, but it is quite a bit of it. But in a good way, because there's kind of a funny part and a poignant part. They're supportive of each other, but
Mm-hmm.
they're also kind of laughing about stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's a well-balanced conversation about romantic stuff between people who know each other relatively well and feel like they can be honest with each other.
Yeah. Do you feel like because there's this focus on relationships, is this and I use the word failing in my notes, and that might be too strong, but a failing of Dixon that these two attractive women should have romantic partners? Or is it just the fact that they have had history with these important men that are important to DC Comics? And so those questions inevitably will come up as two girls talk about it, and women in comics.
I think it's both. I think there is a history of always feeling like you have to have the female characters have a romantic interest. And um, Gail Simone talked about when she was on Wonder Woman that she got editorial pressure to have more men in the comic. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that we've talked about before, and I guess we're going to talk about shortly, that the post 2011 Barbara Gordon keeps being paired with people inexplicably. So there does seem to be, it seems to be difficult for some people to grasp female characters that are not an adjunct to a male character. But yeah, but in this case, when you're talking about these other superheroes that have been around for decades too, that they've been paired with this whole time, and the relationships is going across different comics, then I think it's appropriate here for them to talk about that stuff.
The
And
one,
those are,
sorry.
sorry, no, I was just going to say the relationships with Dick and with Ollie are sort of long enough
Mm-hmm.
that you can see the parts where they're together and you see the parts where they're not together over
Yeah.
those series.
And those two especially, because with Ollie, I mean, that's around the time that these two, Babs and Dinah, get together, is after Ollie's death, and Dinah was in a terrible way, and Babs was really, this job was really a way to pull her out of that ditch that she was in. So that makes sense. And then with Nightwing, I mean, those are cute moments right there where she's blushing and she
Yeah, very
talks
cute.
about it was him who answered the phone that time. Editorial note says it was number 8. Of course, it was. You're blushing, Babs. The great Oracle embarrassed like a little girl. So he comes up again, which leads us back into Nightwing 56 to give us a
Mm-hmm.
bit of context there. So yeah, I mean, first time, like, this is where you live. This is old school. And then she pulls up all the digital stuff, and you see Joker there. Of course, she's monitoring Joker all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And I think it's a great first meeting. Well, second meeting, I guess, but like first official of, hey, they've really crossed this and now they're actually friends. They're not just colleagues. So it's a huge moment. I've been waiting so long for this. Each issue after our Hunt for Oracle, I was thinking, oh, it's going to happen now. It's going to happen now. And it didn't. I've been waiting to use, viewers won't be able to hear the song, but there's a song, Carol and Tuesday, the anime on Netflix, that I've been waiting, called Army of Two. I've been waiting for it because I thought this is the perfect song for them. And so I can now finally use that. But yeah, I'm so happy. That's, I think, the best part of this whole story
For sure.
is this issue, primarily with, when you get rid of Star Labs and everything, primarily with these two working together.
And what's funny about it too is that, remember months ago when you said something like, "Are these two ever going to meet in person?" And I was like, "It's number 28." But if you had asked me then, what is the rest of the story? I didn't remember.
Yeah.
I just remembered I remembered them talking in the clock tower and them with the mugger.
Yep.
I remembered nothing. Once I picked it back up and saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that one with the time travel.
Yeah.
But I guess that didn't make the same impression on me.
I guess not. The funny thing, I wondered what you thought about the very end where they are they about to go to eat? Well, first of all, there is a mistake I have it on page 20 on my paper copy, but they are talking about Dr. Midnight and whether he's stable. And there's a mistake on one of the bottom panels where I think they switched the word bubbles because they give some word bubbles for Dinah that I think belong to Babs. But they are they encounter, I guess, the Star Labs people. And right off the bat, this is, I guess, page 22, Dinah's in a fight pose. Babs has pulled out her screaming sticks. Do you think that this is maybe a bit too much? And couldn't that get Babs into trouble of releasing her identification? Did you think that that was a little strange, a bit of an escalation when someone just says Ms. Lance and then they're all ready to be attacked?
No, I didn't read it that way. I read it like they're always ready and they're always prepared.
That's true. That is true.
That's why they win.
Okay, so we are going to move on to 29. And I had a question about narration box colors. This seems like a strange question to ask. This is 29, right? Where Dinah is now the narrator, and it's yellow, which makes sense for Dinah. But when she goes back in the past, they actually mute the color a bit, if you noticed. And I wondered, did you see any problems with that? Was your attention drawn to that all of a sudden she went from her yellow color to show that yes, it is Dinah talking, to now it's not yellow, maybe because it's in the past? Did you have any thoughts on that?
I didn't even notice.
Okay. There you go. It's just me. I feel like the reason they did is because even the tone of the tonal colors of the past is kind of muted, so they want to.
It's kind of right.
Yeah. Babs calling herself Cassandra. So you said, who doesn't like that? And I'm not going to say I didn't like it, but I just thought it was strange that she would use that moniker when it now from her belongs to somebody else. So why not use another name that is associated, like Helen? She could have done Helen maybe.
Because the name Helen doesn't mean Oracle.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Apollo. She could have done Apollo.
Okay, that's fair. But I understand the issue that there really now is a Cassandra in her life. But I just like the reference to these are both Oracle and Cassandra are both oracles.
Yeah. Okay. I can get on board with that. Yeah. Here's a question. Do you think Dinah is a shallow person?
Why?
Okay. Well, because, hold on now, it's about our hunky hunk man. Now, we have been told that she's dating Dr. Midnight-ish. I need to ask Shag about that, but
I don't know how serious that is. Honestly, I don't have any memory of her dating Dr. Midnight.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. Oh, where is this? She was looking at him. It was in her mind. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Looking at the John Haraldson guy?
Yes, and she says, it has to be, I'm on 29, that he's an attractive person, and he has some depth to him. Oh, is this it? Yes, okay, so need context here. Okay, this is on page 20 for me. Quite a man, eh? That's Cheshire, I think, talking. Yes. We're only visiting, says Dinah. And then Cheshire says, don't kid me, lady. I see the way you look at him. And then on 21, Dinah is narrating. She says, okay, so I'm guilty as charged. John is gorgeous and seems deep for a guy who believes that thunder is made by a big goof with a hammer. But even if I think back to Nightwing 56, look but don't touch. I mean, she clearly was looking. Do you think that is she a bit or is she portrayed as being a shallow person? Like she'll go for attractive men And I feel like the next issue I have is actually her and Roz Al Ghul. It is Raish. I'm so sorry. Raish Al Ghul. What do you, yeah, I don't know. Do you think she is, or is it just a portrayal of her that people, because she's attractive and she gets together with hot people, that's just the way that they're portraying her?
Well, I think it is a difference between her and Babs, right? Because Babs is going to like look down and blush about the Nightwing kind of stuff. And Dinah is more like, I have eyes. What? I'm not supposed to comment on what I see.
Yeah.
And so I think she's just more open about stuff and has a little bit more of a swagger to her, like a Captain Marvel kind of maybe would be an equivalent. You know, so I think it's just another difference between them that is fun.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I guess with Dinah, I can probably see her appreciating the male form right off the bat, more so than maybe Babs would. For Babs, it might be like a quick second, but she very much is, I think, internal or their brain size, that sort of thing. But then Dinah does say that he is deep. So I feel like if she is a bit superficial, I think she's also looking for something that's more. And you can tell from 30 that she actually, in however brief a time this is, because I can't tell actually, is it just one day? Is it a couple days? It's hard to tell timeline wise, that she does form, it seems like, an actual bond or connection with the Hottie McHotson. So, so there you go. My next point, and gosh, when I was thinking about this, I just put the role of luck, and I'm still trying to figure out how to form a question for this. But Hottie McHotson says something about like luck seems to be a huge thing for him. I still don't know if I can figure out. I'm thinking to Caesar. You know, I'm a classicist. And with Caesar, fortune or fortuna personified plays to a bit extent to a small extent in his fighting and things like that. But he also feels like his own prowess is to be praised when things go well. And do you feel like this is trying to come up to see, this is the bad thing about video, everyone will see me hemming and hawing, but editing I can get rid of this. What do you think about the role of luck in terms of being, oh, this is actually good because of the militarism business. The role of luck in, yeah, military and war and things like that. Does it usually, because this guy seems to really focus a lot on that fortune comes into play. Would you agree with that? Or do you think there's other stuff in luck is a bit, a small part to play in that? There's my question.
Okay, well, first I have to say a funny thing about Caesar. Because you're probably the only person on earth who will appreciate this.
Okay.
When I was in graduate school, we were required to either be proficient in one language, or one language plus statistics, or two languages and like one less semester of statistics.
Okay.
All right, I wanted to take one less semester of statistics, and I had taken Latin in high school, as you know. So I thought, okay, good, I'll test out of Latin. So I had to take this test. So basically they give you a passage that you have to translate, and you're allowed to have a dictionary. It was a paper dictionary at the time. But as soon as I read the title, I was like, oh, this is going to be so easy, because it was from the Gallic War Diaries. And the title was Caesar Had to Do Everything Himself. I was just like, this is the most Caesar thing ever. So all I really had to do was have him be the subject of every sentence. It was so easy to translate, but that was just like, okay, so no one else in the world has read
Oh, that's him. Yeah.
I didn't appreciate that as much as you, but you know, he liked to talk about his prowess.
He sure did.
But this was even like, he had to raise the flag himself. He had to blow the bugle himself. He had to, like, come on, man. Okay, so having said that, I thought that the reason that they did it here was because they were trying to show that he was more primitive.
Interesting.
So the idea, I thought that instead of having him, like, I don't know, call on Norse gods for things or whatever, that was another way. of doing it, because the more you name Norse gods in the DC universe, the more people are really just going to think about Thor, which is why Thor isn't named here. And Dinah says
Yeah.
something like, he thinks a man with a hammer controls stuff. So in real life, yeah, I think fortuitous things happen all the time that are not caused by anything in particular.
Yeah.
And I think that can happen in a military situation as well. Like, wasn't there some Revolutionary War battle? I want to say it was the Battle of Brooklyn, where if it wasn't really foggy that night, the revolution would have been wiped out because they wouldn't have been able to escape across the East River or something like that undetected. So you could say that's not luck, that's weather.
Yeah.
But it was lucky that it happened to be at that moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's strategy, and then I think stuff just happens and you gotta roll with it.
Do you find luck and fate synonymous, or do you feel like there is a distinction between the two?
Well, fate implies that you don't have any control over what happens after the lucky thing happens. Also, the lucky thing isn't usually lucky for everybody. It's interpreted as lucky if it helps you and not otherwise. So your luck is probably not someone else's.
Yeah.
But fate almost is like it's more a conception like we're all just on rails. And, that's kind of a disempowering thing, I think.
Yeah, I was just interested with how often, and I had read these. I think I've gone up to Fugitive in my first reread, and that's as far as I got. So I had read these before, but clearly they don't stick in my mind. But just how often he had mentioned luck, I thought was interesting, especially for a manly looking man. And I thought he's, not calling on the gods, which Odin was the only god that was mentioned, and then not, I guess, calling on himself or giving himself agency, that he knows what he's doing. He has strategy. He's a manly man and can beat up these natives. It was interesting how often he talked about luck. So, okay. Well, thanks for being patient as I hemmed and hawed working through that question. Sometimes this is what happens. When I started my podcast, everything was written out verbatim, and now I just put some keywords and I have to figure out what I meant by it. So it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
It sounds more natural that way.
Yeah. Issue 30, Carolyn Coca, you wrote in from the future. If you look at the letters, are you ready for this? Now, for some reason, your Hotmail, do you want me to give your Hotmail? It was wanderson75@hotmail.com way back when. So you said, "Dear Words of Prey, in this issue, Batman dies." Okay, so where exactly in the comic did Batman die? I have to tell you that I was just a little bit annoyed about this comic. I mean, I know you want to boost sales, but that's all well and good. But when you say that you were going to kill someone in a comic, do it. I'm not normally a reader of Birds of Prey. By the way, I collect the Batman titles, so your little ploy worked. However, you have lost a potential regular customer with this little charade of yours. And then the editor who is writing this,
Is Jordan Gorfinkel still?
might have. I don't see, because normally he says his little sign off.
That's funny.
I cannot tell. He says, "Hey, Wanderson, we're sorry our gag didn't work. Hopefully someone who knows you will let you know we're addressing your concern," because he won't buy anymore. "We came in with the purest of intentions on this one, but as they say, the road to hell, ... Or as everyone else says, nobody but you Bat guys thinks this is funny. The whole point of the Batman dies stunt was that it wasn't a stunt. It was a gag, an easy laugh on the eve of an emotionally heavy storyline. Some of the issues worked better than others, but clearly this is one that didn't for a lot of you, and we're sorry." So what brought you back after you said you weren't going to read anymore?
I know, that is pretty funny. So for listeners who are just tuning into this show and haven't heard the last several, we did point out that it said Batman dies on a previous cover, and we also noted Batman did not die.
It's true.
I wonder how many other people collected it for that reason.
I know. Well, it's interesting that I suppose if I am a regular reader, I just pick up the comic from the stands. However, if I were like this person, I would have flipped through the comic before purchasing.
No,
so
because then you would know how he died.
Oh, I guess that's true. Okay. But anyways, I thought it was funny that you wrote in from the future.
Yeah, that's what I did. I wrote in from 3 months ago back to 2001.
Oh, and then it appeared, which it's space that works with the space-time anomaly that we're dealing with. So
Okay.
in the end, nothing changed from the present of this timeline. Was this a worthwhile mission or even a worthwhile story in your opinion?
It was fine. Number 28 is the important thing. No, it was okay. I mean, I think that having the Ravens recur is fine. I mean, I don't really feel like they're that interesting, but I think it's nice to have female villains sometimes, not always male villains.
Mm,
Um, I like time travel stuff in general, and I thought having it come back to, it doesn't change the DC universe forever, but it turned out the only thing that really changed was Haroldson mourning his lost love of
yeah.
Canary. No, that was kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to point out about the time travel aspect and how Barbara deals with it, that in number 30 here in 2001, she's so tech savvy that she can send a signal to Black Canary 1,000 years in the past. Whereas, say, 2020 Babs in Batgirl 48 is so not tech savvy that she has to call an ex-boyfriend for help
Of
with her
course.
tech. Yeah, isn't that interesting?
She can't perform surgery on herself. Who do you think she is?
I think she's Barbara Gordon. Barbara Gordon can do anything she sets her mind to.
That would have been the time to swear if I allowed you to. She's Barbara Bleep Bleep Gordon.
I'm exercising a lot of restraint here, and I'll be exercising more later.
Okay. Yeah, a little tease there. Yeah, that certainly was interesting. And issue 4 kept popping up.
Hmm?
This is issue 4 kept popping up, which was interesting. And I flipped through it while I was waiting for this call to begin, and not too much really happened. They reference it so much, but it's just Cobra and the Ravens are there, and they have a mission. And then at the very end, you see them swimming underwater, and they find that satellite.
Yep.
So I just thought, gosh, did I miss something? It's been so long since I read 4, but people will be okay if they just read 28, 29.
Yeah, totally. It's just that they're just trying to let you know that they're picking up on a thread, and they also want you to go back and buy the other one if you haven't.
Yeah. I can't recall if the Ravens pop up again, but I will be interesting to see where Pistolera and Gun Bunny are. Is that their name? No, Gun Bunny. Pistolera and Vicious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pistolera
okay.
is Gun Bunny.
Sorry, oh man. Okay. I can't wait to see where they pop up. Also, I have a question for you before we sign off on this. Where's her thong? Are you like looking with a spyglass to find? You said that someone with a thong was afoot. I don't know if it was Vicious.
It was
Ooh,
Vicious.
okay, because I
I don't have
looked.
it in front of me though. It was
That's okay.
number.
I thought it was 29 because that's when we see them for the first time.
Check.
I mean, I believe you, but
Yes, it was in number 20.
oh, I see it.
Kind of in the middle
Yeah.
and in the middle of the page in a thong.
Yeah, I see her now.
Yeah.
Wow. You didn't like that butt shot?
I just didn't really see the point of putting it exactly in the middle of the page. One assume that because your gaze is being drawn there because it's in the middle of the page, but it's
Of
not
course.
supposed to be the point of the panel.
Yep.
Yeah.
The squint test, it fails. So out of 10 Vikings or 10 Hottie McHudsons, what would you give this story?
The whole thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's hard because I don't feel equally really about all three of them. I think number 28 is far superior. Right? So I feel like some pages of number 28 are a 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. And the overall story is, like a solid B, like an 8.5.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'd give it, I think, maybe an 8, but I also agree that just with 28, all of my high points would definitely be for that particular issue. So there you go. Well,
on the DC Wiki page, when I clicked on Ravens, it just says that they're the Raven's appearances, and the only thing it says under Birds of Prey is Birds of Prey Volume 1, number 29, which is not even accurate because we know that they're in number 30 as well. So not sure.
I feel like I've seen them, but I might be getting my information because they were working for someone in Gotham. It was like Penguin or something, but that might have been the past unless I'm thinking, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Well, do you think we should do listener emails now or after?
After.
Okay. So friends, we're going to take a break. She's bossing me around, so we're going to do it. So we are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll do listener feedback, and then we will review Batgirl 13 and 14 from 2001. This is Donovan's betrayal, or my betrayal of Donovan. And then Batgirl number 48, aka 100, aka 203 from 2020. But first, Zaius's Radio Hour featuring Lemons by Bree. And this is dedicated to DC Comics and the Joker and James Jr., aka JJ. So we will get back to you soon after we. Woo!